I will not be silenced and you will all hear me. Saludos, mi gente, a otro episodio del PRGDA Videocast con Manny y Gabi. Mi gente, we have a fantastic episode for you today. We're going to be talking with Bunkbed Fantasy, also known as Nattie Torres, a game dev artist and writer hailing in Chicago, working on the game HALT. We're going to have a great episode. I'm really looking forward to talking to him. Manny will join me eventually, whenever he wants to. But for now, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be the one interviewing. So with all further ado, let's bring the man in.
Hi.
Hello. Nattie, ¿cómo está?
I'm good, estoy bien. ¿Y tú, cómo estás?
Bien, un placer tenerte aquí hoy. All right, listen.
Thank you.
Let's let the people know who you are. Who are you? What do you do? I already told them a little bit, but give me the rundown of who you are.
So I'm Nattie, and I'm an artist, writer, and animator based in Chicago right now. Yo soy de Puerto Rico, but I moved for college to Chicago, studied animation for a bit, and I've dabbled in game dev since since I was like 10 or 11 years old, around that, started toying around with Game Maker. Yeah, like back when it was like the sandbox online. Would just kind of like make fun games like here and there. And then like I just got into like drawing in general and stories and animating and stuff like that. And yeah, I've been kind of making stuff ever since.
Let's start. Vamos a empezar un poquito, ¿verdad? Let's go back a little bit further, ¿verdad? Porque so you moved to Chicago for your animation bachelor's. Was that like with the goal to like make games, or were you looking to be an animator?
I was actually trying to break into the animation industry, like television and stuff like that. It's just kind of a thing where like I realized I like being independent more. And I guess if anything comes with like my experience as an animator, like that'd be great. But also like just kind of realized that even if I was like working a full-time animator job or something like that, I still would just want to make HALT. So that's
HALT was gonna happen, COC.
Yeah, exactly.
So now that you bring up HALT, let's talk about HALT a little bit. What is HALT like? ¿Qué te inspiró? Like, what's like? Tell me the origin story a little bit.
So right now, HALT is it's a run and gun and RPG. So it has a little bit of elements of both types of the gameplay, but it's a story-driven game about like these cyberpunk cops in like this utopian city where nobody remembers anything because there's mass amnesia. And yeah, basically like if we look at like the roots of like what the games I played and stuff like that, I remember like some of my favorite games as a kid is like, I grew up with the Mario and Luigi RPGs. I kind of grew up with like RPGs in general. And for me, that stuff was just like so natural, being able to like explore areas and playing through a game, because not just because it's fun to play a game, but also because something's happening there. Like there's a story going on. And even though it's like Mario and Luigi, like shit's happening in the game. Like there's a whole story. And that was so interesting to me. And I guess throughout my childhood, I still loved like action games and stuff like that. HALT in particular is like very like inspired by like me playing like Metal Slug. And tú vas a las pizzerias y lo que tienen son las maquinitas de Metal Slug. So yeah, I would like fucking love that shit. And yeah, so like HALT is just like a combination of like basically all the kinds of games that I loved as a kid, and just kind of trying to put something together and like put myself in it, like as an artist to tell a story that I like.
I love that. What kind of stories are the ones that you're trying to tell? Like is HALT, like you said that you've been making games for a while now, but so my mind then asks like, okay, is HALT the first game that you've like pushed to like have more of a narrative story to it?
Yes.
And if so, why now?
Well, so fun fact, I've actually been developing HALT since I was like in high school because it was always like a passion project. It was a thing I did like in my own time. And yeah, like I always wanted to make HALT the narrative focused game because for me those were always the kinds of games I loved. Like when I played a narrative game that had a huge impact on me, like it was a big deal. So for me, HALT has always been the game that's like the project for me that's always been kind of like a big deal. And so like but as an animator, like an artist in general, like I've like when I was in college, like I did comics and like I do like short films and stuff like that, even if they or storyboards, even if they were small. um
Mhm.
so I guess when it comes to stories in general, I always view like stories and narratives in general and media, I feel like they always say a lot about the artist who makes it. So for me, whether consciously or not, I do it. I know now I do it consciously, but even before I started doing consciously, like my stories have always been sort of like a self insert. So they typically tell story. I typically like to tell stories of things I'm going through at the time, or some sort of like just some sort of manifestation of like inner stories that I tell myself. And I think that's kind of like how art works in general. So yeah, I usually tell like coming of age stories, like things that have to do with like political stuff. So I always loved like I like did it like would like I was doing a war comic like my last couple years of college that was like basically about how much war sucks and like how much like capitalism sucks and stuff like that. So I'm
Hey
very
man,
like intense about subjects like that. They're important to me, and I think they're important to the general public and like the collective consciousness. So yeah.
that is fantastic to hear. Kindred spirits, you and I. I said it before, and I'll say it again. Like I feel the exact same way, and the things that I'm currently doing also lean that way of like not necessarily political commentary, but also like I'm not gonna let you ignore it. Like it's
Yeah,
our life.
exactly. People have like said it, talked about it before so many times in games, like, oh, politics don't belong in games and stuff like that. But like it's not even just like politics, like I'm gonna sit here and make a game that tells you to go vote or some shit like that. It's like it's more like, you
I'm pretty
know,
sure Doom, you just kill Hitler at one point.
right, exactly. Things like that. Like it's like it's not just a political thing like that, but it's like an existential thing. It's like it's everywhere,
Mm.
like even if you're playing like Mario and Luigi, like what is Bowser? Like Bowser's a tyrant, like what the hell? Like
I
so
love
are
the
you gonna
question.
not play
What is
Mario and
Bowser?
Luigi? Yeah, no, like are you not gonna play Mario and Luigi because like it's about tyranny? Like fuck no. Like it's everywhere, criticism's everywhere.
Oh my god. If we if this was Super Mario 64, I think the answer to what is Bowser would be a very different answer if you're using the old game. But that's absolutely fantastic. What brought right? What brings this focus of like telling like this kind of story? Focusing on these elements. De donde viene? Like, you've said that that's always kind of been
Mhm.
where your mind is, pero have you thought about the origins of where this need comes from? Pregunto porque somos boricua. So like there are
Right. No, that's a fantastic question. I think you're very much right. And, maybe this is out of context because it was outside the interview, but I know one time we talked about like, oh, how cyberpunk narratives are interesting to like Puerto Rican developers because cyberpunk narratives are almost like what contemporary life in Puerto Rico is actually like. So because it's like, oh my God, nature everywhere. And then it's also like capitalism and like a lot of technology, like, and it's just like it's very like mirroring. But yeah, no, I think you're totally right. For me, I think a lot of it does come from like I don't know. I think this is kind of like a Gen Z thing in general that like, we grow up and we kind of know that the world is like going to shit. And it's like we grow up our whole lives like knowing that things are shitty and that it's not our fault. And so, I don't know, there's just kind of like a lot of like anger and like criticisms pent up not even because, oh, I choose to be angry, but it's like, what other option do I have? Like I remember, like, HALT also anti-capitalist, like messages and stuff like that,
Hmm.
stuff about consumerism. And like I came up, like I started writing that when I was like 15. And even like then, I couldn't tell you what was going on in my 15-year-old brain that made me say, oh yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna make a game about capitalism, because I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. But it's like I knew that deep down there was something that was wrong. And I think that's kind of what I mean when I say, like, oh, like games, like political messages in games aren't just about politics. It's like an existential thing. It's like we have an innate need to criticize our world because we
Mm.
live in it, and it affects how we exist in it. And, for me, I think when I was like a kid, I definitely knew that, like, you know, I didn't like to spend money on like everything. And I didn't like how much power, like, you know, advertisements had in my life, like, and like, I don't know, how it just like influences every aspect of my life, and it's there everywhere, even though I wouldn't want it to be. And I think that's kind of like what made me want to put that kind of stuff in HALT, because why am I in this world where like all these messages, all this media, and all this stuff has so much power and so much presence in my life when it shouldn't?
That
So yeah.
is, I'm enjoying this conversation immensely. I will completely bring up my bias that like I agree with you 100%. What I'm curious, right? It's clear that we agree on the general state of the world and then how we are doing it. It's a very artist, a very typical artist of just like, I'm gonna put my feelings into this because either
Yeah.
therapy is too expensive or I still therapy isn't fixing it anyways. Like it's too
Yeah.
perpetual,
Facts.
so I need to like keep making art to get rid of the feeling.
Yeah.
Um, Pero después, ¿verdad? You mentioned like early on in your life, even as a kid, you were like seeing like the effect that a lot of this consumerism and predatory consumerism, especially at our age,
Mhm.
was having. So then my question is like, how did you like, what do you attribute those influences of being able to tell that? ¿Verdad? Como que, do you feel like that's something that just happened like naturally? Did your environment help you do that? Or fue como que the internet alone was just like the thing that made you aware of it?
Yeah, that's such a good question, because I think it really is like the internet and like a lot of other like little details, like, like loneliness as a kid, like anybody who has, it's like another Gen Z thing. Like every Gen Zer knows they have childhood trauma and like a bunch of and like neglect and shit like that. So it's like it's a lot of those things that I felt like growing up, like I could tell that my childhood like wasn't normal, and that like my existence like didn't have to be this way. And I guess like as I grew up with the internet, I was exposed to like just a lot of information, and I would just like read a lot. I mean, that's probably how I did start learning about like capitalism and consumerism and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I also went to like a pretty like to some pretty decent schools in Puerto Rico. So like, actually, no, I take that. I kind of take that sentiment back, but like, it's like mid. But I'm grateful for some of the things I've been able to like learn, because that it definitely has had a better impact on me. Like I wouldn't be here if I had a, a garbage education. I will say that for sure.
I love that. It's the sentiment of like if I didn't go to UHS or Sedin, I think it's also the one that I Intel. It's just like everything else is mid. It's like there's some
Right,
strong, but it's like a hard like this is really good, this is really bad. There's no in between. Like it's
right.
some ay, ay,
Yeah,
ay.
no, because like I went to Radians. It's like a school in
Mm.
Calle. And like that was like me like grade school through middle school shit, right? And like, it's just a school, but like at the same time, it's like you have teachers that are like very intense about like, hey, racism is bad. And you grow up there and you're like, oh, cool, racism is bad. And like, but that's the thing, like not a lot of people have that. Like we had teachers like get really like we really learned about like, oh, like like and shit about Puerto Rico también, like like la guerra de aquí, todo eso, like they
Mhm.
really educate us well about that. But everything else in the school's mid. And like my high school, I went to La fucking Leana, and which is like the most fucking like fuck that. Like it's literally the most like PNP like colonized mentality como que school that I've ever been in. Y es como que no, fuck that. Como que in fact, that's probably the place that made me realize fuck all this.
Oh my
So
god, I
actually,
love
yeah, because that's when I started making HALT. So
and the
that makes a
dynamic
lot of
also
sense.
works because if you were raised with this idea of like Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, and then you go to a school where it's like America, 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 you're like,
Yes.
brother, esto no
Yes.
cuadra conmigo. I don't know what you're saying.
No, exactly. Like that makes perfect sense because like yeah, the school environment is just built weird, like they have like tú vas a esa escuela es como que they have hall passes, todos los maestros hablan en inglés and shit, y es como que this feels very weird, y es como que and obviously like yo hablo un cojón de inglés, pero like you know, it's just weird because also it was a Protestant school, which is another thing that was just like very insane. So yeah, it's just like a bunch of all these bad things mixed together, and it's like makes you realize, damn, like something's not right.
That is, I love hearing that. I went my high school was called American School, so that can tell you everything
Oh
about
god,
about that. And as someone que, ¿verdad? Yo domino el inglés, yo prefiero el inglés que el español when
yeah,
speaking it, and so and writing it, mostly writing it.
yeah,
And
because it's easy.
I it was the exact same feeling as you, where it's like everything is in English, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like I'm doing better in my classes now porque todo está en inglés, but also like my Spanish is now getting worse and worse. So is this really a good
Yeah,
trade-off?
yeah, facts.
But all right, all right. So then talk to me a little bit about the development timeline of HALT, ¿verdad? Because you said that it was when you started high school and like and you were in this completely different environment and there was a complete clash. That is when the idea of a HALT or what eventually becomes HALT started ruminating in your mind. What's the game
Right.
development journey been like for HALT to from creation to this day?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so yeah, I first like started coming up with ideas for HALT. I was like 15, and I had been dabbling in game dev for like quite a bit, but I had never finished a game. I would try to do like small game jams, but also wouldn't
Preach.
finish them. So I would just kind of like dabble with Game Maker as I like learned to code and learned to make pixel art and shit. But there just came a point when I was like, you know what, because it was always my dream to like make a full game. So I was like, fuck it, like for this next project, I'm gonna make a whole ass game. And just while I was in school and like kind of like alone, I just would do stuff because I loved it. Like I would just make the character designs I wanted. So I first started drawing Chris Tracy and like Diablo, and like I draw all these characters, and I didn't have a story yet, but like all of that slowly started coming together. And then like that first summer, I started officially working on the game. I was like, I knew I wanted to make a run and gun, and like I knew I wanted it to be like story driven, and like you know I had all these inspirations. So I'm just like working on this game over the summer, and that's pretty much like what the development of HALT has been like for many years. After that first summer, like I just kept working on HALT as I was in school, and I always really wanted to finish it when I was still in high school. So when the next summer came, I grinded on it really hard. I met RJ, who's the composer for HALT. He's director on Unbeatable. I don't know if you've heard of
Mm,
it,
I have
but
not.
yeah. And also used to do music for Homestuck, and yeah, just great guy, great friend. Love him to death. And we finally met, and he like has helped me a lot. He helped me put up a Greenlight campaign together on Steam. We did that, and it got greenlit, and that was kind of like the first moment that I was like, oh wow, this is fucking awesome.
When
But
was
then I
this?
got this was like 2016.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So like that's the thing. Like I got super busy with school shit the rest of that year, had to go to college, and then I'm like, fuck, like I can't work on halts like anymore. And also like even during like development times, like I lost progress on Halt like so many times because fucking Game Maker like will update their program and it'll like make the whole thing obsolete. And that's happened like 3 times. So yeah, just
Your
like pure
struggle is not
thankfulness.
alone. The moment you said that, I saw production just start laughing and like, but it was that resigned laugh of like, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's brutal. Like when I remember like I went to college, like I used to use Game Maker. Like I mean, remember, I've been using Game Maker since I was like 10. So like I literally used GM like Game Maker 8, fucking light version, you know? So like when I was going to college, I was using Game Maker 1.4 and I was like, yeah,
Wow.
this is the best Game Maker there's ever been, right? And then they updated to Game Maker 2 and I was like, holy shit. And then just rendered the whole project obsolete. I was like, fuck. So yeah. So much of my time has just been, I mean, because I wasn't like doing nothing. Like I was
Wait.
in.
I'm sorry. Wait. So did you not just keep using 1.4? Did you port it to 2 and just kept
Yeah,
trying?
I ported it to 2 because I was like,
Oh
fuck
my
it.
god.
Yeah. But yeah, because I don't even think you can still use 1.4 anyway. So like,
Oh,
yeah. And also
okay.
now it's like not even Game Maker 2 anymore. It's just Game Maker.
Game Maker.
Uh, but yeah, I shit on Game Maker a lot, but it's honestly the best thing I've ever used. Like it's pretty great. But yeah, no, like so much of my time has just been like working on Halt, kind of figuring stuff out slowly because it's all been on like my own time. Like like throughout all that, like I worked on Halt when I was in high school or like in college, doing other stuff. And right now, like I'm working. So yeah, like I'm very much like indie game dev, you know. Um, so yeah, that's been pretty much my journey with the game. But every step of the way, I've been so thankful because this is a conversation I've had with, I don't know if you know Spotland, the developer of Spotland. He's like one of my
Production is
friends from high
nodding. I'm the
school.
new guy. So, but yes, production
Right.
says yes.
So we're friends and we've talked so much about how like game dev is kind of like a self-realization journey. And for me, Halt has really been like not just about making a game, but it's about figuring out what is this game and like who am I, you know? And as this game fleshes out, it's like you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you start to know yourself better and you start to understand the story that you tell yourself every day, the story that's always in your head because that's what's showing up in the game.
I completely agree with you. I feel like it's right. What writers usually tell, like what experienced writers tell other writers, it's like write what you know. And so if you don't know yourself, you end up writing yourself into it in order to understand yourself, and then that comes into fruition. We are at the perfect time for a small little break. So I'm gonna give me 1 second to do a little ad break because we gotta get paid somehow.
Gotcha.
We're not getting paid. And so then if we're gonna bring you down, we're gonna put me up, and then we're gonna do a little thing. So see you in a bit. Mi gente. What are you doing? Why? I know you're not. I know. You think you don't understand. You think I'm not aware of it. Why are you not following the PRGDA on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn? Dude, the local thing cannot grow if you are not participating in it. If you're not giving us tu apoyo en cualquier manera posible, go to our website, theprgda.net, in order to be able to see all the games and all the studios being made here. If you are a game developer, you should be on this list. Si tú eres boricua y tú estás haciendo juego, mi gente, it doesn't matter if you haven't worked on that game in 2 years. If you in your mind are like, this is a game I am going to keep working on, pues después tú get on that list, right? Right now, right there. See this link. Click it. You can't click it, but like write it down. It's very small and succinct for you. It's very nice. Beyond that, if after all of that, you still want more, you're like, Gabriel, I want to be part of the community. I want to help the best way possible. Then go to our Patreon, patreon.com/PRGDA. Give us a little bit, $1, $5, whatever you can. Once you only do that with extra money that you got. Don't give us no like we're good where we are. Only give us what you can. Participate however you can. Follow us on our social media, and you're gonna help the local community grow. Nosotros estamos aquí para ayudarlo a todo el mundo aquí. So please follow us. Keep giving us along. que as long as we keep growing, we will keep being able to provide these opportunities for you. And with that said, I am no longer alone anymore. On this desk, it was just me. It was only Gavi. That Manny thing, that was almost like a eulogy. It's almost just because like it's just in respect towards the ones that were. But that's not true. This man is back here. Gavi, bring him into frame. Oh my
¿Verdad
God,
que?
he's back.
Tanto tiempo.
No, literal. ¿Qué tú estás haciendo aquí? What is this?
Dile hola a la gente de Facebook.
Ah, qué lindo, qué lindo. Yo aquí,
De mi Facebook.
no, está fácil, like, está bien lindo. Yo aquí haciendo un ad campaign y todo, and I have like
Claro, hay que
3
darle
cameras
promoción, hay
now
que darle
on me de la
promoción.
nada. Es que él no tiene respeto para el talento, así no se puede. Pero Manny, thank you for being back.
Ya me sacaron de allá atrás.
Our good friend Gabriel Casillas is able to regresar a Puerto Rico, so he's able to help us out a little bit.
No, yo tuve que traerlo desde allá afuera para que viniera para atrás yo de allá.
Mano, we're gonna need to get him a mic now because there's just no way
¿Y el
that.
tuyo? Tú no dijiste que ibas a traer el tuyo.
Yo no
Ponerlo.
dije que lo iba a
Tú lo
traer.
dijiste.
Listen, okay, today's been a long day. Don't get on my ass. We have an interview to continue doing. Let's bring him back in.
Hi,
Welcome back, Nattie. Nattie, Bonnie, it's a pleasure.
Yes.
Bonnie. It's a pleasure.
Bonnie,
Yeah.
you've been hearing this conversation for the last 30 minutes. What are your thoughts? Like, tell us what you're thinking.
I haven't.
Wonderful. Excellent.
Yes, I've been trying to promote the live. So, yep.
Well, okay. Wait, as a quick summary, Nattie is a indie developer from
Mhm.
Chicago, de Puerto Rico, but currently living in Chicago. He's an animator and he's been working on HALT for, I think, how old are you?
I'm 23.
Nice. Okay, so for the last 9 years?
7 years.
7? All right. 50, 60. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Have to do the mental math on my head. And we ya acabamos de terminar de hablar de lo que es, ¿verdad? HALT and the creation journey behind it,
Mhm.
the artist, yada, yada, yada. And we kind of just been vibing, honestly, the two of us here, just having a conversation and going anti-capitalist y todo eso. I want to like talk a little bit. There's just so much that I feel like is also not appropriate for this kind of interview, just going into like the thoughts. Pero the last one we talked about was HALT and it being like as an artist writing games and art that expresses who you are and fundamentally you said it was a self-insert. So then how long is HALT right now? Like where do you what do you is it close to finishing? Is it not close at all? Like how would you view HALT at the moment?
I'd say it's pretty close. Like we have like the game's written. Like we just want to do like a second draft of the game. Like pretty much all the designs, like design work for the bosses and the levels are done. All the assets are done, like artwork and shit like that. But yeah, so we have like the game in like this solid like alpha stage, like throughout the whole thing. But the main thing we're trying to do is we want to get the game published. We want to try to sign with a publisher, so that we can have like so I don't have to work shitty jobs anymore. So I can like, keep working on the game and like really pull through with it because that's the thing. HALT has been in that alpha stage pretty much like since the green light like year. And I'm not even kidding. Like even RJ, like we've talked and he's like, dude, the game's been in like this same stage for like 5 years. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And it's just because I've been insanely busy, like after I left high school. And yeah, like the whole process has been like a lot of ups and downs and just like figuring out the direction of the game. But yeah, that's
I
kind
feel
of like
that
where the game's at right now.
the production schedule it always gets affected whenever you start doing anything else
Yeah,
whatsoever.
exactly. Yeah.
Your game does not come out on time if you have anything else in your
Nope.
life.
Nope.
Eso es puro like, all right, well, I guess this usually takes a month. This is taking 4 because I have other things to do right now. I have to be an adult.
Yeah, exactly. Or sometimes you just like have a life, and like it's impossible to like be a game dev and like have a life. Like I don't think people like understand that. Like low key like impossible.
I adore the moment you say that. Just three heads all in unison, like just nod, like yes, yes, yes. So true, so true.
Yeah.
It gives me the same feeling of J.K. Rowling when building Harry Potter, and I'm just gonna keep mentioning this example because where it's like if she didn't have the social benefits that she had in the UK at the moment, she would not have made Harry Potter. And I'm just like,
Right.
that is, para me, that's the textbook definition of like why you want a UBI of some sort. Because like then
Yeah.
people like you, people like me, people like Manny and Gavi
Oh
can
my
like
God, facts.
actually be able to do this kind of work without having to be like, yeah, but when do I get my next meal if I
Yeah, no,
don't
exactly. You just
work?
said that perfectly because so many people like just don't know what the fuck like what we really mean when we say fuck capitalism. Like they think that we want to like fucking go back to the dark ages or some shit or But like what we're really saying is like, hey, how about some just solid welfare like systems, to be implemented so that like not everything is literally like being stranded in like this concrete jungle of like business and like competition and shit like that. Sometimes it really feels just like so dystopian. Like especially like me here living in Chicago, sometimes I'll be in the city and I'm like I get so existential and I'm like, damn, like people are really out here like fucking working in like these skyscrapers and all they do is like make these companies like tons of money. Like that's it. And like I just like I'll be like leaving my job and like I'll be in the train and like waiting for the train and it's just like giant fucking billboards of like the new iPhone and shit. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Like this is so dystopian. And I think so many people are like used to it and they kind of don't like understand that it's like this is so like insane. Like it is just insane to me that I am out here like struggling and then it's like for some other people it's like that level of awareness does not even exist. You know what I mean?
I can see. I love hearing this because you can tell where the inspiration for all of the story in Halt is coming from. It's your lived experience of literally feeling like a cog in the machine going into like el. We're all well, no, okay. I'm not gonna say that. I'm the only one with a computer science degree. That's it. So
Mhm.
there's a little difference there. But we all use computers, so we all know how like those information buses work. You literally feel like a one and a zero in that train going to your destination to then be in your little home and then like keep going y dando vuelta
Yes.
otra vez.
Exactly, because the only reason like some people are rich is because they don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from because they can just go to Sweet Green and I can make them their meal, and it's like and they only pay like well, sure, for them it's like cheap money, but like for me it would not be. But like yeah, it's just like insane.
So I just there was a moment before que estábamos hablando que él había mencionado de que like he prefers to be like independent.
Mhm.
Como que él estaba haciendo eso el trabajo y todo eso, but then he was just like I just really enjoy the indie style of just being able to do the things that I want to do. So hablando un poquito de eso, de verdad, of what is it about being so independent that you care about? Is it I'm gonna push you a little bit actually because we're vibing, so I know maybe where your mind is. Is it more you like being independent, or is it more you just hate current capitalist corporations so much that you prefer being independent than that?
A little bit of both. I'm so glad you asked. Because yeah, I'd love to talk about that. Cause like, so yeah, I went to college and like study animation and like, so basically, I really was inspired by like cartoons like Adventure Time and Regular Show and stuff like that. Always wanted to break into this industry because I love drawing and I love telling stories and I love this industry. But things have changed radically in just
Mhm.
like 8 to 10 years. So when those shows got made, basically it was like almost how like game dev publishers function nowadays, where like they're actively looking for like creators and indie creators and all that, or small studios to make games. And in this case, it was well to make shows. And
Mhm.
there was a lot of growth and opportunity and shit. But now things are radically different. Like just with like me starting college, like everything shifted from TV to streaming, and like that changed radically. Like I remember, like, you know, before Cartoon Network was like Turner Broadcasting and shit, and like I remember when COVID happened, like no, like before COVID happened, like in 2020, um, like, you know, the Cartoon Network, they came to my school to like recruit people and shit like that and give us a talk and whatever. But they're not Turner Broadcasting anymore. They're Warner Media. And so basically they like now it was so much more corporate, and they were only looking for like production jobs and shit. And I remember being at that conference and being like, this is so weird. Like, what's happening? Like, they're
Yep.
not looking for artists anymore, you know? And basically, ever since then, like, you know, it's just been more of that, you know, like just like less and less opportunities for artists, and just more opportunities for people to like, um, you know, just like, I don't know, like fucking whatever producers do, you know, which is essentially just like plan how they're gonna make, how they're gonna save money or make money or do this thing or whatever.
Mhm.
So yeah, like it's been so strange because yeah, when I graduated, there's way less opportunities for artists, and the opportunities that are there are insanely like workaholic, like no good pay, you know, like little opportunity for growth and shit like that. And that's just kind of like, I realized that the industry, there was no space for me to get in, you know, because everything is already so self-contained, and has this corporate direction that I just like, there was no room for me to even begin. And
Mm.
so, and not only that, but just also realizing throughout the years that like, um, like these companies, they literally make money off of you working your ass off, you know, like they,
Mhm.
like the shows that they make and all that stuff, like they just pay people to make them, you know, and they're just focused on making money. And like I might
Mhm.
sound like some black pilled like fucking shit that doesn't know what they're talking about, but that's essentially how it works, you know. They don't care about what shows they're making as long as they're making money.
Mhm.
So when I graduated and I'm like all passionate about being an artist and like I have all these ideas and shit, nobody gives a fuck. So there's no way for me to be a part of this. And that's when I kind of realized, well, I have all these ideas, I have all these skills, and nobody in this industry wants me. And like I'm not going to wait to get saved by someone. Like I'm not going to sit here and wait till some studio thinks my art is good enough or fit enough for a show or whatever so they can hire me. I'm just going to do
Mhm.
my own thing because I've always done my own thing, and that's the only way que yo puedo echar para adelante right now.
Mhm.
So yeah.
That is lo que Manny decía, the entrepreneurial mindset.
Mhm.
You don't need to be saved. You're not a fairy godmother in Shrek 2. You don't need a hero. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but I get the feeling that you are the showrunner type. Tú eres el tipo de gente de que you sit down, you think of ideas, and you're like, all right, this show is gonna be good, and you flesh it out, and then you go like, here you go, and they're like, no, and you're like, okay, sure, and then you go back, change a little bit, here you go. But you give me that feeling of a showrunner. Okay, like if someone can give you a blank check and you just start making show after show after show, that is what you would love to do.
Yeah, for sure. Like I would love that. And that's the thing. It's like I'm not just interested in being like the idea person. Like come to me when you need an idea. It's like no, like that's the thing. I developed skills to like be used in this industry. Like I can draw, I can animate, I can do storyboards, I can write, you know, like I have all these skills, and like, you know, they're what make me the person that is able to do the things that I like, and put myself in the art I make, and all that stuff. Um, so yeah.
I am just so fascinated.
Yep. Me too. I
It,
haven't said anything, so
you got anything on your mind? Because
nope.
completely overwhelmed.
Yep. 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 I'm gone.
I feel like one of the things that we should tell the audience, just in case, porque, is that, ¿verdad? Lo que Nati y yo estamos hablando mucho, ¿verdad? De anti-capitalism. It can sound very harsh. and it is because we're Puerto Rican. Y lo que había hablado de dystopian and cyberpunk, como que that idea of gentrification, that idea of
Yeah.
being pushed out of your home, of like
Mhm.
the class separation getting even higher and higher, and that affecting quality of
Oh my
life.
god, I can't believe we haven't even talked about that. So sorry, but like that's why I'm fucking living in Chicago. Like PR is so expensive. There's nothing for me to do there. It's like holy shit. That's why I'm here. Like I literally been pushed out of like my home country.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep. It's and so mucha de esa perspectiva, ¿verdad? Y a lot of the perspectives de que mucho boricua también tienen, they're not they're not like me and Nati, that they're very, very explicit saying it like capitalism go away,
Mm.
kind of situation. Como que they still feel that effect de que todos nosotros sentimos de ser boricua, de que nos queremos quedar en casa. Pero if the cards aren't there, if we don't have generational wealth, como dijiste tú, to be able to to sustain ourselves, if we don't have the un apoyo de otra manera u otro, then we need to leave. You gotta
Mhm.
leave because if not, you're either under the poverty line or you're like there really is no in between. You're in the poverty line or como que estás, like your quality of life goes down. Like it's gonna be that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's and not even just that, but it's also like just like generational differences and like ideological differences. Like, you know, Puerto Rico is still mostly very like Catholic and also, you know, very just like, you know, like I'm queer, so like I have a genuine like support system here in Chicago, and like I know that I can exist here and like be myself and discover myself. Pero yo no tengo eso like in Puerto Rico because things are so radically different, you know.
It's the economic effect. Es lo que pasa.
Mhm.
Siempre it's very what it's art imitates life, life imitates art. Como que halt is your expression of what you've experienced, but also
Yes.
then through halt you can then look and be like, esto pasa aquí.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. No, it's like I look at Halt and I'm like, damn, that looks a lot like this shit that sucked in my life. Like, and that's what I meant earlier when I said like whether you do it unconsciously or consciously, you know, like your art is like a self-insert no matter what. Like, you know, people tell this story about how like um George Lucas, like this interview that George Lucas was in or something like that, that someone kept asking him like, oh, so like what is Star Wars about? And like he'd be like, oh, you know, well, it's like a throwback to like classic like sci-fi like space operas or whatever the fuck, you know, like I don't fucking know. But the other person would be like, no, like what is Star Wars really about? And he'd just keep going and keep going. I think it was RJ that told me this story, but like until at one point, like the interviewer was like, what were you going through when you wrote Star Wars? And like he was like, well, I guess like at the time, like my dad wanted me to like take over like a what was it like a woodworking shop or some shit like that, and he was like, I didn't want to do that, and the interviewer was like, there you go, like that's fucking Star Wars, you know what I mean? So all art is like a self-insert whether we want to or not, because it's kind of like this human urge to want to know what the fuck you're going through, and you need to
Mhm.
like express it and you need to put it in something.
Yep. My God.
We're talking, and I'm just thinking about how I'm developing my game and the thought process that I'm having, and I think a lot of people in the community, I think that like how
Mhm,
we're living here in the island and how that's affecting the process that we're making our games,
mhm.
the
Sick.
stories, the art, everything. It has to be implemented in a way that people that play our games know our story
Yep.
visually
Right.
or on the gameplay in some way or form.
It's a need, como que
Hmm.
like we've all, especialmente, ¿verdad? Tú, tú casi, and I've noticed it now being a newer part of the community of just like seeing the pool of ideas and going like, como que the Spider-Man meme of like, this is lo mismo, or like not in a
Yeah.
bad way, but going like, wow, we are feeling the same thing, and
Hmm.
we want to express it in a somewhat similar way of just like just like screaming into the void, but the
Yeah,
void is
yeah.
Steam.
Yeah, exactly. The Void is Game Maker Studio. It's like a wall I'm like, fuck.
It's the age old question of like when you scream into the void, does the void scream back? And it's just like, yes, like because the void is Game Maker Studio, and then what you get back is like Steam dollars.
Yeah.
So I'm so curious. I know that right now Halt is ¿verdad? Lo que primordialmente is taking up your space and your
Mhm.
time. Are is your mind already coming up with any other like other game or any other like media or art that you want to work on post Halt?
Dang. Yes. I mean, post Halt, yeah, I definitely want to keep making games. Like I said before, like I've done comics, I've done animations and stuff like that, but my favorite medium will always be games because I like being able to sit on my computer all day and code. You know, like I'm not even the greatest coder in the world or anything, but like I like shitty game maker and like I love fucking like GML. It's fun. I get to like challenge myself and do something new. um and yeah, with games, I want to make more narrative games. Like I want to I want to expand. Like that's why I like doing this with Halt, like combining run and gun and RPGs, because I want to be able to expand game genres in a way that like, like you can really like play something that just feels kind of like different, play a
Mhm.
whole game that just like feels kind of different. So yeah, I really want to push like game genres, push RPGs, and put different things that like would
It's
feel
a push for
amazing.
innovation.
Yeah, push for innovation for sure, but not even in this way that it feels like, I don't know. There's this. I feel like everyone wants to innovate, and it's very this very corporate thing where it's like, what's our new big $1 billion idea? It's like, no, I'm not trying to make $1 billion idea. I just want people to play something that feels different and that they feel like they haven't played before. Not because I'm looking for the $1 billion idea, but because, goddamn, I feel like there's so much potential in games. I remember
Mhm.
like I watched the video essay on YouTube. This is so lame, but I watched a video essay that was like by Pop Culture Detective, and he was talking about how he was watching E3 and like how it feels like there's so much unfulfilled potential in games because so many games are just like action focused. Like it's like kill or be killed. And it's like he actually like did like a fucking like he like summarize, like he literally looked at all the games and made like a fucking chart and was like, this is how many games are just like shooters or kill or be killed or like action focused like mechanics. um and that was like the really like that, like I looked at that, I was like, yeah, it's true. Like there's so much you can do with games because unlike any other like fucking like
Medium.
medium, yeah, it's like you can do whatever the fuck you want, and it's like that's crazy. Like, and there's so much that you can do. Like you can fucking play visual novels, like you can play like cooking games or whatever. And after that video essay, I really noticed how many games I play is literally just like, oh my
Violence.
god, I gotta like fucking do this before I die. Even if it's like fucking Pac-Man, and that's what's so interesting. It's like there are, in the same way that you can think of, there are other ways to exist in life rather that aren't like, for example, being hunted by a tiger in the woods. There's probably a million other ways to play a game. So I think that's interesting, and I think that's kind of like where I would like to go.
I love the idea of us looking at art at like games and going like, wow, there's a lot of violence. And we're like, all right, I'm gonna go make my game where I'm shooting people. I'm gonna go my game where I'm slashing people.
Mhm.
No,
But
exactly.
it's not violent because it's for a purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Because my game's about destroying capitalism. But no,
It's
that's
violence, but the kind of violence I like.
yeah, exactly. The kind of violence we need. But no, I lump myself in completely with like what I was talking about. It's like, yeah, Halt is literally like you run around and you shoot, and like if you get shot, you die.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, there's nothing different there. But I think I would like to at some point try different things because I think it would
Yeah,
be fascinating.
I think I think an important thing, ¿verdad? Que todo el mundo tiene que estar atento. Es como que a lot of these, it's not wrong to do these things. It's just changing maybe the skin or the narrative or the intentions behind these things. Because at the end of the day, los juegos pueden actuar como similes. They can act as metaphors for like the things that are going on. And so a metaphor of like, instead of actually going out to hit someone, you can just hit a virtual thing and be like, this is how I feel. That's what I want. And now I'm doing it in the game. So now I don't have to do it in real life. Kind of
Right.
situation. All right.
Yeah.
Nattie, this has been a fantastic conversation. I want to get your details after this so we can just keep talking because we vibe.
Sure. Likewise.
Pero the same thing that I do with all of the interviews at the end. You already mentioned a few of them, but I'm still gonna ask you anyways. I want you to give me your top. Did I do? I think I did 3 last time, but I usually do 5, right?
It's 3.
Son 3.
It's always 3.
Whatever. Yep. But all right, I want you to give me your top 3 games/series.
Damn, top 3 games/series. That is so fucking tough. I feel like
they don't have to be ranked, by the way. Like you don't have to rank them. You can just like be like, these 3 to me are like chef's kiss.
Oh, okay. Okay. And it's like games and series, not genres, right?
It can be. I push for games/series, so that way you can't just be a cop out and be like, I like Cyberpunk. It's like, no, say 2077 afterwards or no cuenta.
Right. No, I get you. Okay. All right. I think I got a solid list. I'd have to say probably Cave Story, Mario and Luigi RPGs, and the Zelda games.
That's which there's a vast difference between
right.
them, so.
Okay. So because you say which, I will say this might be so radical and like weird. It's when I say Zelda, I am specifically fan of Zelda 1984 and Breath of the Wild. That's it.
Wow. That is a fantastic, the start of something new. Like that's based. Oh, that is fantastic. I love that list. That's so good. Oh my God. Mano, that was. I'm just. There's more questions that I want to ask, but we've run out of time.
Yep.
No.
Well, guess we'll just have to have you back another point for maybe like a creator dive-in or something like that, just to keep talking about this.
Honestly, even if this was just a podcast, like, that'd be hilarious.
You never know. Nattie, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for this conversation. It was awesome. It was a wonderful interview. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Manny, how did you feel?
I feel great about it, and you got me thinking about a lot of things about my development. So that's a plus.
Nattie, you've had a positive effect on one more person in the world. Whenever you're at night and going, I hate capitalism, just go like, but I helped someone.
That's true. Oh my God, I'm so glad. I'm so glad I could help. It's amazing.
Pero thank you so much for being here, mi gente. This is the end of the video cast. It's been a wonderful time. But with that, we have to wrap it up. Mi gente, thank you so much for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yep.
I think we have only 2 more episodes for the year left.
Yep.
Yep. We have 2 more episodes left. So
vamos a estar libres.
Por un poquito, no por mucho. Pero
necesitamos vacaciones.
Mi hermano, como que estábamos hablando, the capitalist machine never ends. But mi gente, thank you so much for being here. Gabi, give me that music. I need that music outro because if not, then I just don't feel good. You know what I mean?
A ver si Gabi.
He's trying. He's trying.
You got it.
I'm not hearing any music. So I guess it's just, do I have to, is it time for an age-old? There it is.
Okay.
Alrighty, that was...
Okay, no despertó.
I want to say that was the wrong button, but like I just feel like that was just completely intentional. Mi gente, thank you so much for being here after our ears got exploded. We will see you next time.